Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm sure you are all wondering, what is a German's favorite word? Now, of course, this is what I think a German's favorite word is because it is a word that I hear so often in so many different aspects of life, and that word is Datenschutz. Now, Datenschutz or data protection, I've also heard it data security in English, is not as big of a topic, I feel like, in the US, or it's not one that I've heard talked about as much as it is here in Germany. And it's not something that I even thought about much until my husband and I went years ago and we watched the movie Snowden. If you don't know what that is, it's about Edward Snowden. He worked for the NSA and he ended up being a whistleblower, and he shared private information, and it had to do with the NSA and also different European governments surveying people around the world. Now, the topic has become, I think, even bigger because face recognition is becoming more accurate, and so it's the idea that they can watch people and they can also see exactly where they're going and what they're doing in public. After the movie, for me, it was just a movie. For my husband, it was like a topic that sparked debate, and we talked about it. And for him, he really felt like it was like an invasion of privacy that governments are able to do that. And it was something I could feel for him was like passionate. And for me, it was like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't care if I'm being filmed. And it was something we talked a lot about, and he tried to make me understand, but it's still not right for people to film you without your consent and to watch you without your consent. And for me, I still have that strong opinion that I just don't care. I understand it bothers other people, but I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't care. Now, of course, it gets, which they show a little bit in the movie, into the topic where they can also watch you through your phone camera or your computer camera and things like that. And that's also something that I noticed quite common here, with people like putting a cover over their, like a piece of tape, or there's like little boxes that you can close. Some computers even have them built in that you can close the camera, that when you're not using it, no one can possibly see you. I tried to do a little bit of research on it, and I did find out that the reason it is such a big topic here in Germany dates back to the German Democratic Republic and the Third Reich, because they used to survey people also without their consent, and that was kind of how they controlled people. And so it would also make sense that that's potentially why it's a bigger topic here in Germany and Europe in general. Now, what I did find fascinating, though, considering that Germans are so against being surveyed, which is just one portion of this data security, data protection topic, is that Berlin actually has some of the most surveillance cameras in anywhere in Europe. I read that it's around 11 cameras per 1,000 people that live in Berlin. So I find that really interesting, and I'm not sure how that's allowed, or I'm sure there's people fighting back against that, but I just found it really interesting considering that it's such a big topic here. So how have I personally noticed Datenschutz to be such a big topic here in Germany? Now, I've seen it in a lot of different areas. The first one is in family, which, touching base a little bit what I mentioned about my husband and having his own privacy, is that I notice that people here, they don't take pictures as much and share them on social media. Now, I'm sure the younger generation does, but I notice particularly like in my family, my German family, that they don't even take a lot of photos. Like even at Christmas or holidays, it's not as big a thing. Whereas like my American family, you always take group photos and family photos and you post them everywhere. And it's also been a topic between my German and American family about just posting pictures online without consent, which I find yeah, it's always interesting because I'm in the middle and I understand both sides of it. But yeah, I'm curious to see, I don't know if this is something in particular more from my German family, although I do notice like my German friends are way less apt to want to take photos in situations as the American friends. Like the American friends are always like, let's take group photos. And I don't see that as often. However, I have seen it in certain circumstances. Like I recently went to a German baby shower and they did want to take photos, and then they shared all the photos after. So I don't know if the idea though of sharing on social media is just something in our family or in general. The other way that I see it really often is in my work setting. I found it really interesting. Like I said, a lot of people have these things they like to cover the cameras. We also had the topic about sharing birthdays of other employees. Some of our employees were not comfortable with it, and that as our company grew, that we weren't allowed to like openly just share birthdays of people, that like we should ask them directly if we wanted to know, and that we like weren't supposed to, like that was private data that you're not supposed to share with everyone at the company, which I find really interesting. And I'm sure that there's in ways in Germany that's broken in certain occupations and stuff. I work more in a business setting, but that's just something like I never thought about before. Like we'll often like post birthdays online, or like on a wall or something, like in the US at a job. And also we had to sign a paper to allow a picture of us to be used internally in our company. That's something I've never experienced. So in order to use Outlook, which Outlook is something that of course external people see, but also for our task management programs or our customer management programs, anything that was also internally, we also had to give a signature that we gave consent that we were allowed to share our photo for the company to see, which I find really interesting. Of course, it's like a law. Of course, it's a law, so I think people just follow it. Sorry about that. The low battery went on and I had to click it. Yeah, but in the States, I never have heard of anyone being asked a question to share like a photo internally at your company. So I find that just really interesting. I also noticed it in terms of public surveillance, particularly in the States. We love these things called a Ring camera, which is something that you can put on your front door. And if someone walks up to it, the camera activates and it gives them like a ping on the app on their phone. And then they can see who's at the door and they can talk to them through the door, or they have like a recording of who's coming up to their front door. Now, I don't know if something like that exists here in Germany. I know cameras, of course, do exist and people can buy them for their houses. But what I've read, and I've experienced this also like in person, is that people do not want the public spaces recorded. So if you have a camera on your house, it shouldn't be pointing towards the sidewalk or your neighbor's house. It should only be recording your house. Where in the States, it's common that the whole street is recorded. And I've also heard in certain areas where I think the police are offering like a portion of money to pay for Ring cameras if people install them, because for them it's also a part of having more security to watch. Whereas I don't know if something like that would ever happen here. And then the last way that I see it really common is in the healthcare system here. And when I go and get like an Überweisung from my doctor, or if I want a prescription from my doctor, it always is in paper. And I did read that this is something that they're working on changing, that it will be able to be done electronically in the future, because they're trying to change a large part in data laws, that you're not allowed to send a prescription. Now in the States, it's amazing because if I have a prescription, they will ask me what my pharmacy is. They will send it there. I drive to the pharmacy, it's ready, and I pick it up. And I hate this concept of always having to take the paper with you and deal with it. Now, I will say pharmacies are really quick here. It's not like in the US where sometimes if you were to walk in, like if you go straight from the doctor's there, you have to wait 30 minutes because it's so busy. That's not the case, at least where I live. But this is just, I hate this idea that you have to take the paper. Also with the Überweisung or the referral paper, like to go to a specialist, you need to take a new paper every quarter. And this was something I just learned when I went to a doctor, and they were like, where's your Überweisung? And I was like, I've already been here. And they're like, it doesn't matter, you need one every quarter. And this is super frustrating to me because in the States, they would just automatically send it digitally. You don't have to necessarily take this paper with you. Also, like if you're sick and go to the doctor and they give you a sick note, it's like they print you 3 ones out. They print you the paper for you, the paper to give your work, and the paper to give your insurance company. And this is just crazy to me that it's not automatically sent to your work and your insurance company. I do know that's changing, and that has been a change recently in my work, but it's like even when they were supposed to send it digitally, I don't think it came because it still says from months ago in the system that they haven't received the paperwork, even though the insurance, not the insurance, the doctor's office, I think it was, and my work said it should come digitally, but it's still sitting like that. So I still think it's a newer topic. And I also know in terms of like online appointments, if you want to have an online appointment with a doctor, like a digital appointment, that this was something that was really not common before. And I did read that they passed a law in 2019 to change like a lot of these data things, and that they're trying now. Also, you can advertise on your website that you do like online digital calls and stuff, which apparently before was not allowed to have. So there's a lot of different ways that I experience it here. Another one that just popped in my head, which is actually a really big one, which is a personal thing, and this is something I absolutely love, is that the phone, our house phone here, never rings. It never rings, and that's because we don't get junk calls and we don't give anyone the phone. We just have it as emergencies because we use our cell phones. I think I've had this phone ring 2 times since I've lived here for years. And in the States, if I go visit my mom, her phone is ringing 2 times an hour sometimes, and it's never someone we know. It's always an advertisement call, or, you know, someone sold her phone number to someone that wants to sell something, and they're calling us to try to sell it. And it's super obnoxious. I mean, my email account, my personal email account back at home from the States, it has almost 15,000 emails on it. And that's because I get over 50 to 100 emails a day. And they're all junk. You know, I maybe get per month 4 or 5 emails from people I know, and the rest of the thousands of emails that I'm getting, it's all just junk email. Because we don't protect the data here in Germany, you guys have like an opt-in, opt-out thing where, which is really great. And it's also different in terms of like a business work setting, because you can't just like take people's emails without their consent. They're supposed to give their consent first. And if they tell you to let go of it, you have to do it. And that's like protected by law. Where in the States, that's, I mean, like hundreds of people will write you also on your work emails and call your phones. And here, there's really a protection under that. And I've also experienced it in my job, how careful we have to be about collecting data or like hunting emails. This is done totally different in the States, how you can do that. But here, it's really protected, which I really appreciate, because now I can check my email and I know that it's something important most of the time. Whereas like, I lose a lot of important emails because I get so sick of checking it because all of the junk emails, so I just stop checking it. So I think there's pros and cons on both sides, and I can appreciate both. Personally, in regards to the surveillance thing, I just don't, it's not my thing and I don't get, but I'm interested to hear what other people think, German, American, or otherwise, or people from the States. What's your guys' opinion on it? Of course, there's a range of opinions no matter where you live, but is there anything else where you particularly live, even if it's another country, that you've really noticed where this topic is a big deal? Please share with me in the comments below, and I hope you guys are all doing good and enjoying the last few warm moments of summer. I don't know where you guys are, but where I am, it's beautiful. So I'm gonna go outside and enjoy it, and you should too. See you in the next video. Bye.